Most Americans today can sense that there's something serious going on in our country. It's a feeling of angst. It's a feeling of genuine, serious concern. It feels like a war is being waged on us, on our society, on our ideals, on our values. Well, that's exactly what is occurring. A war is being waged, but it's not a war in the traditional sense. This type of war uses neither bomb nor bullet, yet it is just as lethal. It's called political warfare. It's an asymmetric, unconventional type of warfare that encompasses various tactical strategies of ideological subversion or active measures to dismantle and deconstruct a nation-state, focusing on its socio-political and economic values.
And now, EPAC Perspectives with H.G. Goerner on TNN.
Hey everybody, HG and HD with EPAC Perspectives. Here's another one. Today is September 24th, the year of our Lord, 2024. And we've got a this is a show that you do not want to miss. I'm a credentialed member of the press, and I want everybody to hang on to your hats, strap yourself in, because this today is a breaking news exclusive. I'm going to be interviewing a gentleman that we're just going to call him Tom for right now. He is privy to information that, he is right now a retired police officer from San Francisco, and he is privy to information about our governor here in California, Mr. Newsom. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Trying to stay out of trouble, boss. How are you?
I'm good.
Tom, you have been, here's the thing I want to say. When this is so troubling to me, through what we've talked about before this show, you have information. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to witness right now is kind of what it is we're going to be acting like attorneys. We are not attorneys, but basically we're going to give the public, the general public, information and let you make the decisions. This gentleman that we're going to be interviewing, Tom, is privy to information that the average person will rarely, if not at all, be privy to. This is information, inside information, and ladies and gentlemen, his life is in danger right now. We're going to try to hide his face and disguise him a little bit, but more importantly, he will testify, and he has personally told me, and I will go to jail. This is not necessarily what you might say biased or discriminatory. It is just information. But I will, as a credentialed member of the press, I will go to jail to keep this gentleman's information and identification hidden. But Tom, start from the beginning. Give us a little bit about where you were a few years ago before you retired, and then get into what you saw. We've got about 35 minutes here. The stage and the set is yours, Tom.
Well, I retired a few years ago. My incidents that happened early in my career seemed to follow me through my entire work time. And I think what we're getting at is I responded to a call at Gavin Newsom's house when he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. And I believe it was a noise complaint. And the house was in Pacific Heights. I remember going up to the door, and Kimberly Guilfoyle answered the door. And I was kind of shocked. I didn't expect that. I was going to walk away because it's Kimberly Guilfoyle, but she actually invited us in. And the first thing I remember seeing when I walked in was a little water feature inside their front door, like a moat. you step across it, and I thought that was pretty extravagant. She told us that they were having a DA party for the Presa Canario dog mauling conviction case. And right about that time, I walk in and I see servants wheeling carts with white powder against the back wall, going into another room in the back. In front of that, I saw what I thought were 4 trays with piles of white powder on them. And my first thoughts were, is that what I think it is? And I tried not to see it. And I thought, this is not healthy. I need to get the heck out of here as soon as possible. And I thought I saw some more off to my left. A DA, 2 DAs, male DAs came up to me. I don't remember their names. And they started talking. And they were kind of laughing. And I thought, what could this be other than what I think it is? And I couldn't come up with anything. And I've seen a lot of coke in my life, so that was my impression. That's what that was. And there had been rumors before that there was a lot of cocaine around Newsom. Tried to get out of there as quick as I could, and I hoped that it wouldn't come back on me, but it appeared that it did.
Yes. Now, we mentioned in conversations before, and I want folks to understand at this particular time that this information that's coming out, basically, it is information that the public is not getting. Part of free speech is to be able to talk about what you've seen and what you've heard. And also, part of free speech is to be able to hear. Part of this machine, this Marxist machine in this country, is keeping information from you. When we, and excuse me for interrupting, Tom, but I want folks to understand how critically important this is. When we elect people to hold public office, we want them to be of the highest moral character. And what we're doing right now is exposing pretty much the lack of moral fiber that might be being hidden back or held back in people's to affect people's decisions. This is in no way to discriminate against against Governor Newsom, but it is exposing what the people are not hearing. There's like this I wouldn't say cartel, but a mini machine up in that region, in that particular area. Would that be correct in assuming that, Tom?
Yeah, there's definitely a class difference there, and rights of one don't necessarily belong to the other group. I don't really think there's a lot of fairness or honesty, and I think the California government, especially San Francisco, is basically violating laws and people's rights.
And violating the rights. And what's interesting is there's like this double standard. Do what I say, not what I do. And it's even worse than that. I believe, and I put this in my documentaries, that there is a Marxist machine in this country, in various major cities and across the states and across the country, where basically they're not being forthright. And it's kind of like, rather than giving you the information that you possibly need to affect or help you determine a good outcome or an outcome that you will be happy with, they hold this information back. But more importantly, we're going to talk now. We're going to do a deep dive. You mentioned in our conversations before, Tom, that there was a gentleman that used to work for Wells Fargo. Could you dig into that? And I want you've got about 20 minutes here, I'd say, to just dig into it. We want to hear exactly what people have approached you and what you know from other people that have been associated with Governor Newsom as far as their physical relationships. Deep dive into that, would you, Tom?
Sure. Chronologically, I think they're the two foremost in my mind. One would be a Wells Fargo banker, and the other would be a friend of mine who was a SF police officer. The the banker I met on a run. I don't want to give any of the personal
Yes, sir.
details about that run,
Yes, sir.
but it turned into a non-incident. So there was no crime at that scene. However, the person that I spoke with um, he identified himself as a vice president of accounting for Wells Fargo Bank, and I don't know if it was just for San Francisco or the Pacific Northwest. Um, but he seemed to be he had prior contact with the law in Marin County, and there were some big stories involving millions of dollars seized from him, I believe, and his battle to get his stuff back. He had told me that he was a gay man, and he acknowledged that he used methamphetamine. It was kind of weird to talk to somebody like that, and everything they said, they appeared to want to present the truth. And some of the details that he spoke about in dealing with the Marin County sheriffs, I remember reading the articles, and everything he told me appeared to be on the up and up, which is pretty unusual. So anyway, not knowing whether this is true or not, what he told me was he was from Philadelphia. He had millions of dollars. He worked as a vice president for Wells Fargo, and that he knew that he was a gay man from about the time he was 12 or 16, I think. He had gotten married, had children, and then decided that he was going to be his natural self, and he told his wife that he was gay, and they separated. I don't know if it was separation or divorce completely. But he engaged in his lifestyle, and he said that he had a particular, I'm going to call it a quirk. I don't think that's what he called it, but he had a fantasy or something. He was into prisoners. He said that he opened up a halfway house for gay San Quentin parolees up above Dolores Park in San Francisco, which is, I think, borders on the Castro, if you know the Castro.
Yeah.
He said that he had parolees there, and he would engage in sex parties. And he said that a lot of dignitaries from San Francisco would appear. He mentioned Gavin Newsom. He mentioned former police chief Fagan, which really kind of surprised me. But he did not say that Fagan engaged in sex acts. So I don't know if he did or didn't. I never thought of Fagan as anything but heterosexual. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, though, in honesty. I've had some big surprises.
Yeah.
He said that he engaged in sex acts with Newsom and with parolees. He said that many people attended his parties, but I don't remember it going much further as to who was there. He said that the parolees damaged his property, stole expensive items, etc., and he thought he learned his lesson from it.
Yeah. So basically, and here's the thing I want to say. I've spoken with a number of psychologists, and part of this, I guess what you might say, behavior, when you engage in sexual congress with a person, be it male or female, the act itself is aligned in a certain way with violence. Now, having said that, also, when you have a male interacting and having sexual congress with another male, the act in itself can be extremely violent. Having said that, what that violence does, and this goes to an even more deviant type of behavior with regard to young boys. Back, I was in the entertainment industry for a short period of time, and I got out before I got deep into it. I mean, I was a stuntman, and I saw many of these people in L.A. Wow, I got out. The point is, there's a guy named Rock Hudson. Everybody, you remember him?
Yeah.
Rock Hudson, and I'm taking this, I'm going off on a little channel here, but Rock Hudson was basically gay. Okay, so whatever, that you can't discriminate that. But what I thought was rather interesting, at his pool, he had a couple of statues of naked 12-year-old boys playing around. This guy liked young boys. And here's the thing I want to say. When you commit a violent or a sexual act, and it was called, and this is where we take this, and I want folks to understand how this can become addictive. And I think many people know about addiction. In this particular case, when you engage in sexual congress with a gentleman, like we're talking about, what can happen is they will basically, it's called erotic asphyxiation. What can happen is that when you engage for the first time, what will happen is the person giving rather than the person receiving. What happens is the person giving will either choke out or put their hand over the mouth and stop the breathing, or keep them from getting air, oxygen, for a short period of time, to the point where their bloodstream is flooded with epinephrine or adrenaline. And then when they have an orgasm, it is much, much, much more intense. That is where this goes into this big thing, which what you've seen with. I'm not going to take it at that particular direction right now, but what can happen with these young boys, and I'm taking this off in another direction, that can happen and get addicted to that type of sexual behavior. But more importantly, when you get a person, and this is where I kind of feel that many people just like pain, and when they interact or have a sexual congress with a person of their same sex, this can be quite addictive, and this is probably where this particular person, this is a sexual orientation. This is what they like, painful, and guess what? Once you have that orgasm, you're guaranteed you're gonna want to have that orgasm again as many times as possible. Young men are dying from autoerotic asphyxiation, but more importantly, when these prisoners, and you can see the picture there, when these prisoners succumb to prisoners that are just going to take what they want, pretty much you can become psychologically, it's kind of like that one, when you're held a hostage, you become basically aligned with the hostage taker. But more importantly, I want folks to understand that this type of behavior is not uncommon, and it's basically a psychological, I guess what you might say, fixation with that type of behavior. Now, here, as far as what you've seen and what you've heard, Tom, this is extremely powerful. Especially when you have persons coming forth to a sitting police officer and giving them this information, this is extremely problematic, or I guess what you might say, interesting in the fact that this is troubling. We want our governors and our elected officials to be of the highest moral character. Now, this guy, Mr. Newsom, likes this particular stuff. Doesn't he have a wife? I believe Miss Kimberly Guilfoyle left him. Is that correct? didn't Mr. Newsom have an affair with somebody?
I heard that offhand from a retired CHP officer. I don't know if it's true at all. I mean, I don't know how to gauge this one, but she told me that Guilfoyle had caught him in bed with another guy. But that's a pretty random statement. I mean, I tend to believe it from what I've seen and what I've heard, particularly from Franco, my former friend Franco Fleming.
Now, you said former. I want you to elaborate on Mr. Fleming. He was he not, Mr. Newsom's bodyguard, correct?
He was his one-on-one. This is what I heard, what I was told, that he was his one-on-one personal bodyguard.
One-on-one personal bodyguard.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what happened to Mr. Fleming?
He passed away.
What happened? Can you elaborate on it a little bit for us?
I heard, I didn't know he had passed away, and another friend, we were talking about what we're talking about here, and another police officer actually, and he told me that Franco had died, and it completely caught me off guard. And
how old was he? Do you know?
At the time, I think he was in his mid-40s.
Mm-hmm. And I believe you told me earlier he died on the operating table. Is that correct?
I heard that he died on the operating table via doctor malpractice, an accident.
What is this
An
guy's
accident.
name? Who is it?
Now I'm gonna take this off. From what you've told me, Tom, you sound like this is just for the most part just destroyed your psyche and your life to the point where you literally just my heart breaks for you, as far as, because I believe you said in the past that your life has been threatened. Is that correct?
I was told by attorneys to not talk about it, that my life could be in jeopardy. I kind of tended to believe that because of SFPD had a confessed death threat to kill me and my children, and they decided not to tell me. So I kind of tend to believe that those kind of statements might be have some truth in them.
And this is a police officer within your organization telling you there were death threats against you. Is that correct? Or be on the lookout?
Well, two people, two high-ranking officers were involved and decided not to tell me that there was a death threat.
Wow. And that went over for time. Mr. Fleming, and from what, ladies and gentlemen, let me be more specific. What I've done my investigation, and as we talked about this before, Mr. Fleming apparently died on the operating table from basically he bled to death. Here's the thing I want folks to understand. From what I understand from previous conversations, and I'm going to lay this out here. Mr. Fleming went in for minor surgery. They nicked apparently his kidney or his liver, and they allowed him to bleed to death. Is that correct? Is that your understanding, Tom?
What I heard was that he went in for an elective surgery, and the doctor accidentally nicked his kidneys and bled him out on the operating table.
Now, I want folks to understand. Listen to me very carefully. I had surgery a few months ago on my heart. They can actually come up through the groin. They don't have to open up your chest like they used to. They can come up to your groin, through your carotid, basically your femoral artery, and with a catheter, they bring it in and they drop a valve in your heart, and they back out. The doctor apologized to me because he nicked my femoral artery. And I had to have a confusion. I had to have a transfusion. They gave me 3, almost 4, I guess what you might say, units of blood. When these doctors, and I'm going to tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen, many of these doctors are so good at what they do. It is astounding. If you knew the caliber of many of these qualified, massively qualified doctors that are so good at what they do, they know that something like this, a nick here or a nick there, they are prepared for that. They actually had me sign a document, say, hey, sometimes there can be complications. We may have to give you some units of blood. Do you have any problem with that? Because many people don't want blood. I signed that. They gave me the blood transfusion. I bled internally a little bit, and I had to go through about 35 days of rehab, and I'm back stronger than ever. But more importantly, what I want to say, why with Mr. Fleming didn't they give him units of blood? They had easily the ability to give him blood and save his life. We're going to leave it right there. Having said that, I believe there's more to this than most people see. You'll never get the information. You'll never find out the whole truth. But what we've brought you today, ladies and gentlemen, is the first part of this story. What this gentleman, Tom, who is a retired San Francisco police officer, has been privy to is information that you're not getting that can affect your decision making when you go to the polls. More importantly, we do not want to discriminate against Mr. Newsom, but this is information that is a matter of record. Ladies and gentlemen, also, there is information, and I'm going to let you finish with this. Apparently, there was a gentleman in the newspaper, Tom, that was part of is it Mr. Lee? He's a representative. Is he assemblyman?
California State Senator Leland Yee convicted for gun running.
He's an assemblyman, right? And didn't you say that?
Well, I think he was a senator. I think he was a senator.
Was he? Okay, because
I'm not sure.
An assemblyman is called a state senator.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay, no problem. The point is, he's an elected official. More importantly, it was a matter of record that I believe that in the documentation in the San Francisco Chronicle, that it was mentioned that a couple of other people and Mr. Newsom were, I guess, mentioned as part of this gun running, drug running, I guess, not cartel, gun running organization. Is that correct?
Well, he was convicted for gun running. I used to clear his house right before he got convicted. I didn't know what he was up to. I figured he was, San Francisco politician. But he, a couple times I went out to his house and did a walkthrough. I think he stated that he thought it was a potential burglary, but I don't believe he thought it was a burglary, after the story came out about his involvement with gun trafficking. However, what caught my attention was that I seem to recall an article in the San Francisco Chronicle that stated that Leland Yee mentioned that Willie Brown Jr. and Gavin Newsom were his business partners, and that their activities included not only gun running, but narcotics and human trafficking. I mean, I read it right out of the Chronicle, if I remember correctly.
Right.
I can't find the article now, but...
Well, they're going to squash. They're definitely going to try to eliminate. But here's the thing. You will testify, and let me make this specifically. You will testify under oath and under a lie detector to this information. Is that correct?
That's pretty easy, yes.
You got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day right now. Next Saturday at 5 o'clock on EPAC Perspectives, we're going to do a little deeper dive. And I want to thank Tom for coming on today and letting us hear this information. Governor Newsom may not be all he's cracked up to be. He might be a good politician, but for me, I don't think I'd vote for him if I were to vote, if I had a choice. I want my governors and my elected officials to be of the highest moral character. I want them to be the best of us. They represent us. Tom, I want to thank you so much, my friend. God bless you. Everybody, pay attention. Come to EPAC, come to TNN, and that guy right there, TruthSlinger.com at 5 o'clock next Saturday. And the gentleman, Tom, is going to talk with us a little bit more. This is an exclusive. You heard it right here on EPAC Perspectives. Like I said, I'm a journalist, a credentialed member of the press. This is information not to discriminate against Gavin Newsom, but to give you information and let you decide where you're going to cast your vote in the future. God bless everybody. Tom, thank you so much for being on. Tim, TruthSlinger.com. We'll see you Thursday. Got you?
Yep.
Everybody? HG and HD out of here for EPAC Perspectives. We'll see you Thursday, and definitely be ready for the show on Saturday. We're going to be back at it. God bless everybody.